Nearly 140 police officers were injured, and at least 5 people lost their lives that day or in its aftermath. The warnings of history are clear. When democracies are in danger, it often starts with a mob. That's what happened a year ago here in this building, a mob attack. And for mob violence to win the day, it doesn't need everyone to join in. It just needs a critical mass of people to stay out of the way, to ignore it, to underestimate it, to excuse it, and even condone it. The mob can start out as a small number, but if it's allowed to grow and leaders egg on the mob, encourage it, it can become poison. That is what Donald Trump is doing, as even his response to President Biden's speech today showed. And once that happens, the unthinkable could become real. Democracy erodes and could, God forbid, horror of horrors, vanish. The poisonous mob mentality lives on today in the threats against election workers, poll workers, even other public servants like school board members and health workers. This is what erodes a democracy. And Donald Trump today continues to spread his poisonous vial about the big lie. To borrow from President Franklin Roosevelt, the violent insurrection of January 6 was a day that will live forever in infamy, a permanent stain in the story of the American democracy, and the final, bitter, unforgivable act of the worst president in modern times. Today, on this first anniversary, members from both the House and Senate and our staffs, the President and the Vice President, are here today at the Capitol, and one of our purposes is to share memories in commemoration of that day. At noon, we will hold a moment of silence in honor of those who were lost because of the attack. And to all my colleagues and to staff who struggle to get through today, you're not alone. You are not alone. We are here by your side. The Employee Assistance Program has resources available to all Senate staff who are processing what happened a year ago. Let me share my personal experience on that day. As I've recounted many times since then, my personal experience that day was in some ways like the opening sentence of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities, the best of times, the worst of times. First came the best of times. 12 hours before the attack, at 4 a.m. in the morning, I learned, or several hours before the attack, at 4 a.m., I learned that our 2 Democratic senators had won in Georgia, and we would gain the majority. At 4 a.m., it became clear. I tried to get some sleep, couldn't, got down in my car, drove to Washington, and got to the floor of this chamber at 1 p.m. for the first time as the putative majority leader. Within 45 minutes of sitting there and watching the beginning of counting the ballots, a police officer in a big flak jacket and a large rifle grabbed me firmly by the collar, like this. I'll never forget that grip. And said to me, "Senator, we got to get out of here. You're in danger." We walked out the Senate chamber door, made a right turn, went through another door. This happened to be captured on the video tape above, and it was shown at the impeachment trial, although I didn't even know they had the tape until I saw it at the impeachment trial. But we go through the door, you don't see us for 20 seconds, and then we are running out of the door at full speed. I was within 30 feet of these nasty, racist, bigoted insurrectionists. Had someone had a gun, had 2 of them blocked off the door, who knows what would have happened. I was told later that one of them reportedly said, "There's the big Jew, let's get him." Bigotry against one is bigotry against all. And I saw something that I've been told later never happened before, the Confederate flag flying in this dear Capitol. That's just one of many searing, grotesque images of that unimaginable, most un-American day. There were good moments, too. I remember when the leaders, Senator McConnell, myself, Speaker Pelosi, Leader McCarthy, were sent off to the secret place. We convened after desperately trying to get the president on the phone to ask him to call the rioters off. We spoke to the Secretary of Defense and the acting Attorney General, but to no avail. But then the four of us got together and said, we're going to come back. We're going to count those votes. We're not going to let the violent insurrectionists stop us. And count the votes we did until I believe it was 3 a.m. the next morning. That was a good moment amidst a lot of bad moments. So now we ask, 1 year later, how shall our country move forward? What are we to say and think and do in response to a day when a sitting American president, rather than step down from office, unleashed his own supporters to attack the government through mob violence? How can we help those scarred by that day find solace, find healing? How can we make clear to the American people, to the world, and even to ourselves, that our democracy is still whole? First, we must begin by commemorating our emergency responders who have died, whether through complications from injuries or sadly through suicide, in the days and months after the violence. Brian Sicknick of New Jersey, Howie Liebengood of Virginia, Billy Evans of Massachusetts, Jeffrey Smith of Illinois, and Gunther Hashida of Virginia. Today and every day, we remember them. We mourn their loss. We honor their limitless heroism in the face of the unthinkable. Second, we also thank every single member of the Capitol Police, the D.C. Metro Police, and the National Guard, who kept us safe and prevented a violent riot from turning into something much worse. That afternoon, our Capitol Police were outnumbered, unprepared, and largely left on their own. Just watching on television the brutal beating of one of them by the mob, another being crushed between a door and a wall, just rips your heart apart, and you relive that day, and you remember how the Capitol Police suffered but persisted and helped preserve our democracy. When they held the line, our democracy survived, and so not only do we thank them, but we commit to continue supporting them and fighting for them as they fought to defend this building.